Broadcasting from Manhattan Beach and the World Wide Web, you're listening to CHSR, HealthyLife.net.
As a service to our listeners, this program is for general information and entertainment purposes only. CHSR, HealthyLife.net does not recommend, endorse, or object to the views, products, or topics expressed or discussed by show hosts or their guests. We suggest you always consult with your own personal, medical, financial, or legal advisor.
Welcome, Relax Radio listeners. I'm your host, Dan Reardon, with co-host Dr. Krishna. Dr. Krishna is the founder of Relax.org, and I'm the president of the Relax Company. You can download our app at the App Store or the Play Store, and you can visit us at relaxx.org. With us today is Anadi Martel. He's a physicist, an author, and a founder of Sensora. We're going to be discussing the beneficial interactions of light, and I'm really excited about this one. Welcome, Anadi. We're really fired up to have you on the show, and let's dive right in with, how did your journey with light begin?
Thank you, Dan. I always enjoy talking about light. Well, I guess my journey began during my studies as a physicist, because, of course, light is one of the primordial components of our universe. It's one of the four fundamental forces, the electromagnetic force. So I had to explore and learn what science can teach about light, and there's a lot. So that was the beginning, and then I became interested in meditation in my late teens, and I branched off to a different dimension. I went to India for a few years, and I studied with a beautiful spiritual master there. And so I kind of became aware that there's this whole other dimension to what we call light, related to consciousness. And I was really intrigued to understand how this same phenomenon, light, can have two so different dimensions, one completely material dimension in our physical world, and also this cognitive or spiritual dimension. And so because of this, light is a very peculiar phenomenon in our world, because of this bridge between these two dimensions. So I started early on, because I was doing a lot of electronics, I created instruments. First to work with sound, and then on with light devices. And my interest was always to explore the use of technology to see if it can enhance well-being and consciousness. So that was really the start of my journey there.
Wow, that's really fascinating. I'm sure Dr. Vada would love to hear a little bit more about your journey in India and some of the discoveries that you had there, because Dr. Vada has deep roots in his learnings and his time in India. So maybe we can spend a minute there. Dr. Vada, do you want to jump in? Is there...
Yeah, I mean, I'm fascinated by what you said. So can you share where you went in India and who was the guru, or who was the person that you interacted with?
If you'd like, it's Osho, and he was in the Pune area near Mumbai. But I traveled a lot around India. I love the country. I think if you want to explore spirituality, India is the place. There's so much happening there.
And roughly what time period you are talking about? Did you meet Osho?
I did, yeah. This is quite a while back. I arrived there in 1976. I was only 18 at the time. So it's an old story, and much has happened since then.
Yeah, it is an older story, 76. I met him earlier than you then.
Really?
It was I have also talked with Dan about Osho.
Mm-hmm.
Many of my work and my thinking kind of derived from that.
Well, he certainly was a very special man.
One of the questions, now talking about India and you have been there, you have seen people. The color part, it's like some people wear saffron or red. Some people wear, Buddhists wear yellow. And also had this white and red, like you go, which meditation you are doing. Now, the red means the red is being absorbed by, and it's not going inside and not heating up your blood like, some of the wavelengths that are filtered out. Is that one of the thinking in the physics? Or?
Well, obviously the colors that you see are those that are reflected by an object, so that are not absorbed by that object. Yes, indeed, if you have a red object, it means that the red is reflected and is not going in. Now, the meaning of colors is in itself a fascinating subject, and it has many aspects, which I always find fascinating, because there is an objective component to it. Colors have very objective effects. Some colors are known to be stimulating, and some colors are known to be relaxing, and some will activate your sympathetic nervous system, some will activate your parasympathetic nervous system. So there is this objective effect of colors and wavelengths that is being studied and that has been used actually throughout history by most evolved civilizations, including in India and Ayurveda. You have a whole tradition of color medicine. So there is this aspect, and also at the same time there's a very subjective component to colors, a cultural aspect. Each culture views some colors in different ways, and we each have a very personal history with color. Some colors may be associated with some traumas for some persons and acquire a special meaning for these people. So it means that colors don't mean the same thing to all of us. So there's always you always have to be aware of this dual aspect of colors when you want to use them for specific purposes. You can do some clear-cut, definite healing with specific colors, but at the same time you have to remember that different persons will react differently. So what I found the most interesting techniques are those that have some form of feedback or ways to measure the ways in which colors affect you, and then when you can recalibrate whatever instrument you work with as a function of that, that's really the ideal circumstance.
So, Anadi, you touched on it lightly, but I wanted to explore it a little more around this, the incredible effects that light can have on both the physical and the mental health. Maybe talk through a little bit in those areas, what can be done and accomplished and attained with light.
Well, it's a very exciting time just now for people working in this field, because there's a real revolution in light medicine happening as we speak for the last 20 years. There's been very important scientific discoveries about the biological effects of light, and it's triggered massive interest in using light for healing and using light in medicine. And really this is a relatively new phenomenon, because if you look in the 20th century, there was not that much interest in light medicine. Actually, it was seen in a negative view. It was relegated to superstition and non-scientific, ancient methods which were superseded by medicine. And so this is a relatively new situation that we have here. And so light has become again a very fashionable subject in medicine. And it's being used in different ways. One aspect is that we now know that certain wavelengths of light can directly stimulate the metabolism of our cells, specifically through the mitochondria, which are the little energy engines within each of our cells. And light, especially in the deep red and near-infrared range, clearly stimulates the action of the mitochondria and so boosts the level of ATP available, the energy units available in our cells. And this triggers a whole cascade of effects which has all kinds of consequences, both to enhance our energy, to enhance immunity. It even goes all the way to DNA regeneration. So that's a whole area of the action of light that's being intensely explored now by many scientists, and there are regularly discoveries and clinical research is happening. So very dynamic field there. Then there's the whole other aspect of circadian lighting, where we now know that light has a direct effect on our hormones within the hypothalamus, and so the amount of light that we get during the day is critical for our hormonal balance and our inner rhythm, our inner clock. And unfortunately, in our societies, that often gets disrupted because we don't get enough bright light. We live indoor, or we live in far in northern latitudes and so on. And it doesn't take much to disrupt this natural cycle. And when you start to lose that connection with the daylight rhythm, it has all kinds of consequences, both short-term. You have trouble with sleep and stress and things like that. But on the long term, we now know that it actually can impact at much deeper levels, and it has relations with diabetes and cancer and different long-term illnesses. So the amount of light and the way you receive it during the day is critical. So that's another whole area of research into light medicine that's very active currently. And especially so because it directly relates to the new lighting technology that is being introduced now of LEDs. Now basically all the light bulbs that you can find around you in your home and in the offices and so on are based on LEDs. And LEDs actually emit a light spectrum that's quite different from the natural spectrum of the sun or of the incandescent light bulbs that we used in the previous century. And that has deep consequences on our circadian rhythm. So all these topics are being explored currently, and it's a very urgent matter actually to figure all of that out before the introduction of the new forms of artificial light can cause health problems.
Yeah.
So
I know for me. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you have a question?
No, I was just going to say, it's for me, my awakening to light was more than I had originally really given it credit for. Was as I started to realize and do some reading and research around exactly the topic you're on, around, hey, that the light spectrum and the energy of the coming off of these new artificial lighting sources aren't really the right either wavelengths or the right energy to power your ATP and mitochondria process and potentially other issues. And then coupled with that, the realization of vitamin D and getting the sunlight exposure and all of the circadian rhythm pieces of it, I quickly realized that there was so much more to light than I had ever really stopped to consider.
Right, it is a complex subject. You have to consider the spectrum of a light source, which colors it's emitting. You have to consider its rhythmicity. You have to consider whether it's pulsing or stable light source. How much ultraviolet, how much infrared it contains, which you don't necessarily see. So many aspects to be considered. It's a complex domain.
So, Anadi, I mean, I did some research with, say, laser light, in medicine, as you said, breaking stones and which wavelengths can do that and which wavelengths can do something else. But in practical term, like all the people who are listening to us, can you give us some tips that people can use in their regular life? And I mean, what have you done in that field, like bringing it down to the level of a household or a person who is working on their awakening their consciousness?
You have many questions in one there.
Well, you can answer whichever way you want.
Right. As I mentioned, there's now a vast number of people working in that field of lighting, so much is being done by different people. But my own personal area of research is not so much with these effects of artificial light that we just mentioned, the risks involved, or using light for medicine, like it's being done with lasers. I explored one particular aspect of using light, and this is using colors, specifically colors. And it's a field called color therapy or chromotherapy. And this really doesn't have that many practical or physical applications. It's more something that's useful or helpful for energy medicine, for healing at a more subtle level, or for, I would say, psychotherapy to help regulate or bring back health in our mental processes. Now, of course, we could talk a lot about that. So I'm exploring ways of using colors, especially pure colors, because the more pure the color is, and when I say pure, I mean the more monochromatic, when it has one single wavelength, the more potential impact it can have, both in biological terms and in cognitive terms. So pure colors, we know instinctively, we're fascinated by pure colors, whether it's in a rainbow or whether it's in the peacock feathers, these brilliant hues that are extremely pure. They have a direct effect on us. Our brain is attracted by these pure wavelengths. And so there's a whole science that is based on that, how to make use of this direct sensorial channel that prioritizes pure colors and brings them directly to many centers within the brain. And through this, there's a lot that can be done through different instruments, both simple ones. Now it's quite easy to find beautiful color sources because there are so many LED gadgets available emitting colors. Or it can become very sophisticated. Like I've been developing light instruments that work by modulating light, introducing various pulsations within a light source, and then you connect to the whole field of vibrational medicine, the use of specific frequencies. And that's a whole world in itself. And it turns out that light is the perfect medium to modulate, to introduce various frequencies frequencies that are in the range of our biorhythms, whether it's brain waves or we have many, many different biorhythms driving us. And so you can use light and colors to interact with those biorhythms in very efficient ways. So I didn't really directly answer your question, Krishna, but we could go in many different directions with that.
Anadi, I mean, it's so fascinating. I mean, just listening to you about this, immense possibilities. So you have some place where I can come or Dan can come and look at that pure color and have that effect, or is it in a research setting, or is it treat people there? How is it practically applied?
Well, I'm a researcher, and I have my development lab here in Quebec, in Canada. And you're certainly welcome to visit this anytime. But basically, I create instruments that are used by therapists around the world. So I design instruments. I don't do therapy myself. I'm not a medical doctor or a therapist, but I create the instruments. I work together with therapists. Like the system one of the systems that I developed was created together with a therapist, Mark Premo. I worked with her for many years on this, and it's really a merging of technology and therapy, and learning how to use it to help people in healing. So,
hey, Anadi, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we will pick up on this discussion, talking a little bit further about the instruments and the types of ways you impact therapy. Relax Radio will be back right after this short break.
If you want the most compelling, universally available platform in the practicing of meditation, mindfulness, and intermittent silence, then you need to know about the app called Relax.org. That's relax with 2 X's, because when you go to this app, you really do relax. It helps your body, quiets your mind, and connects you to your flame in the world of consciousness. It's always with you, so you can use it any time. Isn't this your time to be peaceful, happy, and prosperous? Find out more at relax.org.
If you're looking for unique items at affordable prices, then you should try Dream Product. From apparel to beauty, from shoes to therapeutic relief products, visit HealthyLife.net's advertiser page and click on Dream Products, and maybe your dreams might just come into reality.
Imagine living everyday life on purpose. Now imagine yourself easily navigating through life's changes and stress from a soul level. For insights into the journey of the human soul, let Dr. Krishna Bhatta be your guide. His book, Journey from Life to Life, will help you demystify life, death, and everything in between. It gives you clarity on how you can have a successful life and a smooth transition into the world beyond. Who wouldn't want that? Get Journey from Life to Life by Krishna Bhatta, MD, at Amazon.com.
You have too little time to shop, so try Farm Fresh to You. They deliver organic food the way nature intended, delivered straight to your home or office, economically. Visit our web advertiser page and click on Farm Fresh to You now.
Feel like the super person you are meant to be? It's easy at liveandbreathesolutions.com. They don't just talk about healthy living. Their superfoods are combined with products you use daily, so you're actually getting a healthy living at great prices, too. Imagine chocolate, gluten-free organic snacks, mixes, and ingredients, all but a click away at liveandbreathesolutions.com. So make life simple to be healthier. Just live and breathe and go to liveandbreathesolutions.com.
This is Jack Maher from the band Feed the Kitty. It's important to support the artists you love, and you can do that and get something authentic for yourself. Rock.com has the most coveted licensed merchandise of music, culture, and entertainment. So go to the advertiser page and click on Rock.com now.
Make your day start out right. Coffee and tea are what most people need to help start their day. So it's no secret that you want the very best taste. That's where coffeeandchai.com comes in. They're proud to display a variety of coffee and tea from all over the world. They have a wonderful assortment of coffee flavors, and talk about teas. They have all kinds for the body, mind, and soul, which are great to drink any time of day. Visit coffeeandchai.com now. That's coffee, the letter N, chai.com. coffeeandchai.com.
Welcome back to Relax Radio. This is your host, Dan Reardon, with co-host Dr. K and our guest, Anadi Martel. Anadi, we're going to go ahead and pick up where we left off and have you talk a bit more about your instruments and the types of things that you work with.
Sure. So we were just talking about the system that we call Sensora, which is multisensorial, actually. It's an installation where you are immersed in a field of pure colors that are projected on a large screen that pretty much covers your field of view. And I create a sound field around that using music and sounds and specific frequencies. And we also use a special chair which has an array of kinesthetic transducers, creating a wave of vibrations that can be perceived through the skin, so for kinesthetic stimulation. And so basically this instrument we use to generate stimulation at those three levels, light, sound, and skin sensation. And when you stimulate many senses together, something very interesting happens. You can have profound effects by working with any of these three senses, whether it's light, sound, or skin stimulation. And there are whole fields dedicated to each of these three dimensions. But when you put them together, you amplify the effects. You have kind of a merging of the different stimulation within their respective brain centers, whether it's the visual cortex, the auditory cortex, or sensory motor cortex. And when you stimulate these together, then much more quickly you get a distribution throughout the whole brain of whatever effect you're working on. And I just mentioned that when you use pulsations, low-frequency pulsations, especially in the range of brain waves, you make use of a phenomenon known as entrainment, where your brain will naturally fall in sync with this sensorial stimulus. And when we know what each range of brain waves correspond to, they correspond to different mental states, then you can see that you have a very powerful way through sensorial stimulation to encourage the brain to go in different directions. And then this can have profound therapeutic effects. You can help a person with in deep depression to get back some joy and some energy. You can help somebody who's overstressed to go into deep relaxation, and so on. So this is really what the direction in which I've been exploring, this merging of these different instruments. And so we've been at it for over 30 years now. It's a long-term development. And the system, the Sensora, is used now by a number of therapists in many countries. And we're trying to encourage studies, clinical studies, and to understand how far this can go. And the results are most encouraging.
Yeah, it sounds pretty amazing to stimulate all three of these centers together. It really is obviously an experience that I've never had, but it sounds amazingly interesting. So I look forward to more availability of the system and the process.
Right, it is quite a magical experience. That's the whole idea or purpose, is to have a very harmonious sensory stimulus that kind of lifts you up from whatever perturbed or unbalanced state that you might be in, and helps you to reconnect with a state of more organized energy, more harmonious. And really, it's part of a whole trend of the medicine of the future, I would say, where you start to use frequency information to restore balance and to interact with our energy systems. And again, there are many, many ways to do this. I've been working on one particular approach, and it's an extraordinary exploration. I did make simplified versions of this technology so that people can use it in their homes. I have a light globe that's called the Sensosphere, which creates light patterns based on the same principles as the larger Sensora system. And so it creates a very harmonious light field that people can use for themselves.
So you would put that in your room that you did your home meditations in, or in a space like that?
Sure, in your living room, in your bedroom, in your office. The idea is to create a gentle stimulus that restores order around you through pure colors and through these carefully calibrated soft pulsations.
And Anadi, if someone wanted to get it, where do they get it from?
Well, it's not a large business. It's running through my website currently.
Okay.
Sensora.com. So you can just find it through the web.
Great. When you mentioned earlier about light's role in the awakening of consciousness, it sparks my curiosity to hear a bit more of your thought process around the connection to that. And we'll start this now, and then we'll be taking another short break here in a minute, and then we can come back to further exploration on this. But wanted to get you to talk a bit more about that.
Right. Again, there are many dimensions to that. Clearly, as I mentioned, colors, pure colors, have a very large impact on our perception. So you can easily use colors to influence, to focus your attention. You're always attracted to beautiful colors, so it's a perfect way to focus attention. And in that sense, it can be a tool for meditation in a very natural way. Now,
I see.
You can say it goes deeper as well, because we all know of this connection between light and consciousness. The ultimate state of consciousness is known as enlightenment. Clearly, because we perceive this direct connection, it's like consciousness and light are somehow the same nature. And in terms of physics, it's interesting to look at that, because relativity teaches us that the world in which the photons, the particles of light, live is very different from our own reality, because when you reach the speed of light, we know that time stops and space is contracted to nothing. So for a photon which lives in that reality, there is no time, there is no space. And so you can see there the connection between light and consciousness, because we usually, these are also qualities associated with consciousness, to have no time and no space.
So Anadi, I'm going to have us take a break here. We'll come back and kind of finish up that piece of it. So we're going to take a break from Relax Radio, and we'll be right back with further discussions with Anadi.
Your world world is colored with beliefs, values, and illusions, which interpret how you process the signals you receive from others. Now there's a way in which you can quickly learn how to interpret these signals correctly, and without self-sabotaging yourself in the process. In Dan Reardon's book, Signals Proven Methods will help you see things more clearly, so you can act with purpose and achieve your goals, while attaining a more peaceful, happy life. Get your copy of Signals by Dan Reardon today at Amazon.com or wherever fine books are sold.
This is Jack Maher from the band Feed the Kitty. It's important to support the artists you love, and you can do that and get something authentic for yourself. Rock.com has the most coveted licensed merchandise of music, culture, and entertainment. So go to the advertiser page and click on Rock.com now.
If you want the most compelling, universally available platform in the practicing of meditation, mindfulness, and intermittent silence, then you need to know about the app called Relax.org. That's relax with 2 X's, because when you go to this app, you really do relax. It helps your body, quiets your mind, and connects you to your flame in the world of consciousness. It's always with you, so you can use it any time. Isn't this your time to be peaceful, happy, and prosperous? Find out more at relax.org.
Get high-quality glasses, sunglasses, and prescription lenses at eyeglasses.com. Choose from over 250,000 items and 400 brands. Already have frames? Get replacement lenses. It's easy. Go to our advertiser page and click eyeglasses.com.
Imagine living everyday life on purpose. Now imagine yourself easily navigating through life's changes and stress from a soul level. For insights into the journey of the human soul, let Dr. Krishna Bhatta be your guide. His book, Journey from Life to Life, will help you demystify life, death, and everything in between. It gives you clarity on how you can have a successful life and a smooth transition into the world beyond. Who wouldn't want that? Get Journey from Life to Life by Krishna Bhatta, MD, at Amazon.com.
HealthyLife.net, where positive overcomes negative.
Welcome back to Relax Radio. This is Dan Reardon, your host, with co-host Dr. K and our guest Anadi. We were going to pick up on this kind of consciousness and space and time discussion that we were finishing up, and I'm going to let Anadi and Dr. K kind of talk us through this segment.
Thank you, Dan. I think we should say welcome to the world of photons. It's like it seems like they live in a different domain or different kind of dimension. I'm fascinated to hear that because in meditation also, when you go beyond time and space or beyond mind, you have that experience that there is no time and there is no space. So, Anadi, can you continue that? Let's hear more about the photon world and how it merges into consciousness.
Right. Well, of course, it's a very speculative domain. It depends whether you want to approach it from a scientific point of view or from a spiritual point of view. And as I mentioned, that's the beauty of light, is that you can really explore light from both directions. And it's also linked to the nature of consciousness itself. What is consciousness? It's the ultimate mystery, actually. There's a whole science trying to study consciousness, but very quickly you realize that it cannot be studied because the observer cannot study cannot study itself, and you run very quickly into that paradox that philosophers and scientists exploring consciousness get into. It's what's called the hard problem of consciousness that really nobody has any idea of how to solve in scientific terms. And we know from the mystics of all ages that you cannot study consciousness. The only way to explore it is to become it, to dive into it. Hence the whole world of meditation, the whole techniques of focusing attention inwards and really plunging into the source of consciousness, which is within us. Otherwise, we wouldn't be aware or alive. And so, in a way, light is a symbol of what is completely free and luminous and transparent. And that's my own personal feeling, is that that's where the connection happens between these two things, that they're really, at this level, they're synonyms for the same reality. But on our physical world, it is mysterious, and light is very mysterious. We tend to think that science has figured it all out, that physicists have worked out what's matter, what's energy, what's light. But in fact, at the root of all of these realities, the mystery remains. It should not be overlooked. It's always good to remember this mysterious aspect of the world we live in.
Yeah, the mystery remains and mystery continues, yet we all try to look into that. One of the things, Anadi, we will, it's a practical thing in Quebec or in Maine, at least it becomes natural. Like, when I walk along the St. Lawrence River, I feel peaceful. You don't have to work on it, There is probably light also affecting, and the whole mood changes. Tell me some of your peaceful moments. I mean, where do you find just to be peaceful?
Well, obviously, nature is the ultimate source for that. Unfortunately, for many of us, it's not so easy to be in contact with nature. And I guess this is where perhaps some technologies can be helpful. In a way, I've always been fascinated when you look at nature through vision, through our eyes. You see incredibly complex patterns. Vision is millions of pixels. You have all frequencies of light working together, and the sun emits white light, which has all colors. So you have this tremendously complex patterns happening constantly around us. And it's very difficult with technology or science to approach anything like that. Nature is vastly more sophisticated and complex. But there's one thing you can do with technology, though. What you can do is isolate specific frequencies and colors and focus on clear-cut specific energies. And then you can use them in a way that you can use a laser to achieve specific goals. And so this is one aspect, perhaps, where technologies can be used to generate those pure frequencies and energies to help us to connect with this dimension of silence, where everything becomes very organized, very simplified, and so the connection there is there's so much to be explored. I think we're really at the very beginning of a whole new science of using technology to enhance consciousness and well-being. And well, I guess if I look at the work I'm doing, I feel in many ways it's very primitive. It's just the beginning of this new science that's starting to emerge in the 21st century. And it's very exciting to
it's really interesting when you think about the peaceful moments and you relate them to light. I immediately start thinking, and I start correlating to, wow, the sunrises, the sunsets, the reflections coming off of the river, all of the ways that I feel that peace, Dr. Bada, or I've experienced that nature moment. So much of it is really driven by the light and the scenery of the moment that's in front of me, and it really strikes me as I'm just listening into the dialogue here that it really is so heavily correlated, and I've always been naturally drawn to certain colors for sure. Green has always been a color for some reason that I've just loved, and I feel incredible peace and comfort when I have a green color near me, just as I do when I see the beautiful sunsets. So it's really fun to start to really get that awareness of what's really driving that peaceful moment. With that, we're going to take a short break here at Relax Radio, and we'll be back for our final segment with Anadi and Dr. K. Thank you.
Explore your inner universe with your own portable guru. You'll discover the benefits of intermittent silence, meditation, and mindfulness, which will help you in every area of your life. At relax.org, you'll learn to conserve, channel, and use your energy in constructive ways while helping to keep your body healthy and your mind relaxed. Relax.org is your chance to consistently experience stress-free, purposeful living at its best. Where is this portable guru? At relax.org. That's relax with 2 X's. Feel like the super person you are meant to be? It's easy at liveandbreathesolutions.com. They don't just talk about healthy living. Their superfoods are combined with products you use daily, so you're actually getting a healthy living at great prices, too. Imagine chocolate, gluten-free organic snacks, mixes, and ingredients, all but a click away at liveandbreathesolutions.com. So make life simple to be healthier. Just live and breathe and go to liveandbreathesolutions.com. Your world is colored with beliefs, values, and illusions, which interpret how you process the signals you receive from others. Now there's a way in which you can quickly learn how to interpret these signals correctly and without self-sabotaging yourself in the process. In Dan Reardon's book, Signals Proven Methods will help you see things more clearly, so you can act with purpose and achieve your goals, while attaining a more peaceful, happy life. Get your copy of Signals by Dan Reardon today at Amazon.com or wherever fine books are sold. Imagine living everyday life on purpose. Now imagine yourself easily navigating through life's changes and stress from a soul level. For insights into the journey of the human soul, let Dr. Krishna Bhatta be your guide. His book, Journey from Life to Life, will help you demystify life, death, and everything in between. It gives you clarity on how you can have a successful life and a smooth transition into the world beyond. Who wouldn't want that? Get Journey from Life to Life by Krishna Bhatta, MD, at Amazon.com.
More exhilarating talk. HealthyLife.net.
Welcome back to Relax Radio. I'm your host, Dan Reardon, with co-host Dr. K, and Anadi Martel is with us for this final segment. We're going to pick up where we left off in the last segment, and Dr. K and Anadi are going to continue to explore some of these peaceful moments, consciousness, and some of the other intangible areas. So, Dr. K, take it away.
Anadi, again, it's a fascinating discussion and fascinating for me and exciting to know that you also knew Osho. Can you share some of the conversations you had that inspired you, or did something help you continue the research on light? Share some moments that you had with Osho.
Well, definitely, it was great encouragement in this work over the years. Because early on in those days, I thought perhaps it would be better to stick to meditation and not waste time on working on technical gadgets like lights and sound machines. So I did ask Osho about it, and he was extremely positive. He responded that light and sound is going to be the medicine of the future, and that was in the 80s. That's quite a while back. He had this intuition. We now know it's unfolding now. And but he already saw it at the time, and he said then it was worthwhile to keep exploring that, and that it is possible to combine, perfectly possible to combine scientific research and meditation, inner exploration. So there's no reason to limit yourself to one or the other. The complete man will be able to go in both dimensions. And so that's what I've been striving for.
Yeah, that's great, because in a way I also felt encouraged in pursuing my medicine and also continue my meditation. And it led to one of the apps we have created is Relax app, and the whole emphasis is that we have body, we have mind, and we have a flame, which I call flame of consciousness. And it is the right terminology when I hear you talk about the light. It's like flame, as if something is moving up. And that is based on the fact that we all have individual consciousness as well. And also has given a talk on Bikyan Vairava Tantra, the Book of Secrets, he called. And there are a couple of areas where this part is addressed, like individual consciousness. Do you have any thoughts about individual consciousness versus the consciousness that we all talk about in general?
It's one of the ultimate mysteries, isn't it? Certainly I'm not going to solve it today, but I can share one experience that's always remained with me in relation with that. And it's one moment I was in Arunachala, and the sacred mountain where Ramana Maharshi lived. And it's a power spot. There are spots on the planet which have strong energy, telluric energy, and this is one of them. Just being there, you're naturally drawn to meditation. You're drawn within just by the energy of the place itself. And I sat there on the mountain, and I closed my eyes, and I looked in, and I saw so clearly in that moment that I felt that actually the inner world is infinitely vast. I mean, we know when we looked at the universe, and my studies was in astrophysics, how enormously vast the space, physical space is, billions of light years. It's nearly infinite, but I just felt in that moment that the inner world is just as vast, just as infinite as these billions of light years. When you start to dive in, there's no end, there's no limit anywhere. So that perception of the infinity of our inner world really stays with me constantly, and so it's available within us at any moment to dive into that emptiness. It's entirely up to us. It's really our core is there. So I don't know if I answered anything about what you asked.
No, Dan, you answered. Sorry, Dan. Dan, you hear the same talk that our video says that I have been trying to say. I mean, he so beautifully, it's like, Anadi, you really said it very well.
Mm. Yeah, I was taking a lot of notes there, Anadi. It's quite fascinating to listen to Dr. Bada and then now hear you and your insight into the inner flame, inner world. And there's so much alignment, and obviously the Osho connection is amazing that just happened. So, I can hear a lot of synergy and commonality there, Dr. Bada.
You were mentioning the beautiful colors of a sunset, sunrise, and nature. One thing I'd like to add is that some of the most beautiful colors I've seen are actually more in the dream state. I don't know if you've had that experience. Dreams, you see colors that are so beautiful that they're not even physical. They don't belong to this physical world. And in a way, the technology have created the Sensora and Sensosphere is an attempt to materialize this abstract or very pure sources of forms of light and colors. So with technology now, we have ways to try to approach this very subtle aspects of light and colors. So that's really what I've been trying to, in a way, to bring to the physical plane so that it is available to everybody, some of the essence or subtlety of that, those forms of light that really belong to a higher plane.
Boy, I'm excited to get your device that we can all put in our houses, because that would be wonderful to experience those pure forms of light and the purity of it. I know that when you say the dream state, it's really interesting because with Dr. Bada, we practice intermittent silence. And when I go to those moments of silence, I do experience a purity of the moment, a purity of the light, of the whole feeling. And sometimes I do see different colors or experience feelings of colors in those moments of silence. So that really kind of connected some dots for me there as you brought up that in the dream state.
And that also defines what we call inner theater, where we can do positive imaging or you can experience those images in the period of silence. So we are unfortunately at the end of our show, Dr. Bada and Anadi. I think we could all keep talking for many hours as we're getting into this, but really, Anadi, really appreciate your time. And it was www.sensora.com for people to be able to connect with you. Is that correct?
Correct, yes. And there's also a website about my book, lighttherapies.com, light-therapies.com. So
fantastic.
Goes deeper into many of these subjects.
Great. Well, you can find this and other shows of ours on demand at healthylife.net. And you can also find out more about us at relaxx.org. Thank you